Howdy, folks. Welcome to another wonderful fireside chat. Um, Welcome to Learn CNC with Javi, or Soldering with Javi, or whatever, chatting with Javi, whatever you want to call it. And look who dropped by. There's our friend Dave. Hey, Dave.
Sorry, Javi. I went out there and was just going to check on the machine real quick, and it was finishing up, so I went ahead
Oh,
and
sweet, sweet.
cut
No,
it off.
I just put you in now. Um, and Well, ooh, four watch. I blinked, and all of a sudden, four people are watching. Is this a silent movie? No. Can you guys hear me? Hang on. Let me make sure they can hear me. I don't know why they can't. You can hear me. Folks, sound check out there. If you hear me, make sure there is. Oh, here we go. Oh, that's why they said it's a silent movie, because I was like half a minute late. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. My apologies. Um, but yeah, if I don't schedule it, then I won't be here. But if I schedule it, then I'll be here. Which brings me to Friday. May or may not be here Friday, because I possibly might be working. Working. I don't work. That's just wrong. I possibly might be tiling my kitchen floor, because that's a lot more fun than working. Well, for me it is anyway.
So does that mean there'll be a tiling with hobby show?
That's I would love to do that, but my family's helping me, and they're a private bunch. So, but oh boy.
Rona.
Excuse me. Yep. Don't don't come in here. Yeah, it's I got the AC on a little bit. We have wow, stuffed up all of a sudden. It's when I'm stuffed up like that, it's allergies, guaranteed. And I've never been one for allergies except for this past year. So when recently, I've had the shutters on the, it would be the western exposure of the house, for probably 2-3 years at least. We didn't bother taking them off because, well, the backyard was a mess, but worse, our neighbor's house was a mess. So we just didn't want to see it. And rather than just the curtains, which are fine, we just blocked it all off. And it was cool because the shutters block all the light coming through the windows. So that was nice. And but it's also nice when you take the shutters off, because we cleaned up our area and the neighbor cleaned up his, coincidentally, at the same time. And what else are you going to do in this Corona world? And then so now I have to go around, because I haven't done it yet, but I have to go and rebalance the AC. Dennis didn't have his mask on. That's funny. I have to rebalance the AC, because now what happens is that side of the house gets quite warm, transfers to the middle of the house. So the middle of the house is where the thermostat is on, and then the AC keeps on going. My room is an ice box, my bedroom, which is on this side of the house. And then now I am on the extreme. I'm just on the other side of the bedrooms, and so basically I'm on the opposite side. I'm on the east side, clearly, right now, and it is cold in here. Every once in a while, I leave the door open just to let the cold air out. Apparently, I was born in a barn, or I certainly would like to be. Good evening, Big D. How's it going? I am. I'm just soldering another box here. Got another order, and I want to just keep ahead. So, want to stay ahead of the game. And unfortunately, I left my. Hey, that's something I could buy. I've been looking for stuff to buy on Amazon, so I am going to get on Amazon right now. As we are chatting away, it'll take me 2 seconds while I'm on here. Look for my past orders. Type in LED and come on. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Wow, I got a lot of things with LEDs in them. There it is. Okay, an LED lamp that I was very, very happy with, the one that you saw me using. And let's get it in white. Yeah, we can get it in white. And buy now. So with any luck, this will arrive Friday. That's a beautiful thing. So you guys heard it here. And it's I could see, but that lamp really brings out the details. Also, the fact that my glasses are just so ridiculously fogged up. Yeah, let's see here. Do you always publish a piano video on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays? I guess around 7 or 8 or 7:30, because that's because I go on at 8 in those 3 days. Yes, I checked out the couplers, Dave. I did. They're pretty interesting. I like them. I like them. They're haven't. I mean, I'd have to try them out, but then again, I don't know. You could argue that a coupler is a coupler. Obviously, well, that's not true either, because there are some couplers like you've heard me complain about the ones from well, there was this company, I forgot what the name of it was, that I bought couplers from, and it was not good. It was that weird company name that it was just they were aluminum, they were very, very thin.
Something service. I can't even
Yeah,
remember.
I am service, is it?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I am service.
Or
Hey
something.
Ed, how are you? Welcome. Yeah, I think it's I Am Service was the name of that company, and I wasn't a big fan of the couplers there because um my Xbox, as soon as I moved it to the end, the whole thing stretched out. Um, and same thing happened with one of them over here. I mean, I basically had to take the coupler off, squeeze it in a vise. It was never the same, and it was already fatigued. The metal was fatigued from stretching it. So I ordered immediately. I ordered the others. The By that time, what's his face at Dumpster CNC? Tim is it?
Yeah, Tim.
Yeah, he was already back in business. But as far as these are concerned, that was for those two. But for these two, for the two Ys, since um, my particular design, you guys haven't seen it, but eventually soon I'll show you, or some of you have, or some of you haven't. This thing goes up, goes down. Eventually I'll make some plans because I'm a big believer in plans, even though I haven't made any. Generating money. And so the when they hang, when these, well, basically when it's vertical, I definitely want to counterbalance everything. However, until then, I've got 100 pounds of gantry. It's 7 foot long, and or a little over. I got 100 pounds of gantry hanging on these two rails, and the rails are heavy themselves. And all of that is hanging on two motors, which is not good for the bearings of the motors. I'll tell you that much. For the bearings of the stepper motors. But eventually, I want to get a few different design changes. Again, mostly overkill. One thing I want to do is balance it so there's no stress on it. Then I want to put some. I want to double up the edges here, the mounting plates, so it can withstand lateral forces, and I'll put a thrust bearing on it. And I want to see if I. No, that's it. That's about it. With those two, with that implementation, I'll be able to feel safer about my crazy customization. You know, because this is and by my definition of what is and isn't a Gatton, this is only a Gatton when it's horizontal. When it's vertical, it's not a Gatton anymore. It's a mutant. However, I will say this: I have run it vertical without any of all those extra things, and as long as I run it slow enough, it runs. So let me tell you, there's something to be said for the design, but I've said that before. All right, now for the fun part. I am going to be cutting a bunch of cables. Yay! All right, so let's see here. All right. I better pull this directly. Okay, how many do I need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 12, 14, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so then 2 for that one motor, 2 for that motor, 2 for that motor, and 2 for that motor. Then I have the power supply and the other power supply. And 2 for good luck. This is how much wire it takes to wire up one of those things, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 loops, about 2.5 feet. So, say somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 feet of cable, which it is what it is. Okay. Get my good cutters out. See that? Cut 5 or 6 at a time with these. Four cuts, 17 cables, not too bad.
What's up, Piano Man?
Good old Matthew. Left. There we go. We got all our cables. But since I'm I can't call myself a perfectionist since I'm an OCD person. We'll call it that. I gotta have them all the same width. So let's work on that. You know, it's funny. Every time I think of colored, every time I see colored cables, for some reason or other, the only thing that comes to mind is I would love to have a bunch of little pieces of this, throw it inside a what's it called, a resin, and 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 do that. I'm giving my cables a haircut.
Piano Man stepping up his game. He uploaded Foo Fighter.
Foo Fighter.
Yeah.
Ah, I like Foo Fighter. Good. That's a good old band. Now let's see where I put. Oh, great. I would happen to have it on the edge of the table where I can't reach. Luckily, God has given me intelligence enough to figure out how to reach stuff where I can't reach it. He usually does that about age 3 for everyone. Or was it Bill Cosby that said, it's amazing how kids' arms are only this long, but they can fetch stuff off the shelf. No, it wasn't Bill Cosby, it was somebody else. Oh, Gallagher. Stuff off the shelf this far. Yeah. Good old Gallagher.
What are those cables you're doing there?
All right, what I do is I cut all the cables at once. I am actually stripping the cables into. This is the panel. This is the front panel, and I'm gonna need 4 of the same color cable in a black, 4 of the same color cable in a red, 2 colors, black and red, and the 4 different colors, 1, 2, 3, 4 for this. I will need 4 of the same color for the 4 motors on the inside, and I'll need 2 other sets of. All the cables are about this long. They're about 14 inches long because the box itself is 12. So basically, as long as this can go from one diagonal to the other, it fits inside the box, and I can route it and wrap it whatever I need or trim it. That makes it easier when I'm working with all the same size cables. And what I do is I strip the sheathing off all of these because first of all, the sheathing is just bulky as heck when you're working with a box, and that'll just take off the airflow. And second of all, I found they're a lot easier to manage without the sheathing. And I gave them a haircut because in the past what I've done is I've just cut them approximately the same length. But then what I do is I put all the reds together, the blues together, the yellows together, the blacks together, and then I find that when I go to grab 3 reds, one is this big, one is this big, so I want to have them all the same height. I can always trim them down, but sometimes the cables that are the longest are the ones from these motors to the to the uh, to the drivers, and they are yeah, and they're I don't want. I ended up on 1 or 2 boxes soldering a cable that was too short, and I had to solder a little extension on it and shrink wrap it and everything. It's all fine, but that's not what I wanted.
All right. I tried to put a link in there, but I'm not a moderator on YouTube, so I cannot.
Oh, what? Which?
Well, it was Samurai Logistics is asking about.
Throw the link in the inside chat, and I'll put it on there. Wait a second. Be even easier. I don't know why you're not a moderator. Hang on a second. Let me.
Well, here's the link I was trying to.
No, let me just make it easy on myself. Hang on a second. Okay, I know there is over here somewhere, or at least there used to be.
Yeah, those 3 dots aren't there anymore, I think. Well, no.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they are. They're still there. But I think Matt was saying something. I think they changed. Yeah, all you can do now is report and block. You can't make them a moderator.
Oh, really?
Or maybe it's just I can't. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, you probably. Let me see. Hang on a second. I used to be able to. I'm looking at the StreamYard link, and I used to be able to go to YouTube. Oh, here it is. View on. I want to see view on YouTube, and there we go. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Now, Dave.
Let's see. Matt says Javi should be able to do that because it's his channel. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's why I don't see that.
Dave, do me a favor. Type something, because you're not on, probably because they.
Okay.
There we go. And there we go. You are good to go.
So I'm a wrench now?
You are a wrench now.
Let's see.
As well, you should have been for a long time.
I got a wrench. Okay, well, let me try posting this link again and see if it. Yeah. Okay. Samurai Logistics. That's the link, and it's not a ball screw. It's a lead screw. There's a difference. But that's the link takes you right to it, and that's actually the McMaster car part number 99030A704. That's for a 6-foot length. If you need smaller, they have 3-foot lengths as well. I feel important now. I got a wrench.
You should have had a wrench a long time ago.
I've never needed a wrench.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. You never needed a wrench, and I never had enough YouTube streams out there to need a moderator, let alone. There we go.
I guess that worked as a link. It let me post it. You may have to copy and paste it, put it in there. I don't know if it's a clickable link or just a copy and paste type thing.
Yeah, sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. It's weird. Clickable links, I think you might have to put the HTTP or I don't know.
In the chat.
Mailman. It was too late for mailman. All right. So one thing that I found when stripping. Oh, and in additional answer to your other question was the reason I'm stripping these and going through all the trouble of doing that is because it's a lot less expensive. Again, I'm trying to do everything I can to save money for the guys. If I was a company and stuff, either I'd pay somebody a minimum wage to strip cables, or I'd charge more for the customer. But I'm trying to save every penny I can to make it more than reasonable so everybody can get in. If I buy the roll and cut them that way, it's actually a lot more expensive than buying a roll of cable, a roll of 4-wire cable, and stripping them individually. It's
Samurai, I apologize. I just now looked closer at your comment. I thought you were asking where to find the lead screws, but you're asking about the sizes. And those aren't on there specifically because everybody makes the machine pretty much a different size. So you got to cut them to fit your particular, however big you want to make it. And I do in one of my videos, whatever video it is, like I don't know the number, 8, 7, whatever. One of those where I'm showing, where I'm installing them, I show how you measure to
yep.
to cut them to the right thing. And to me, I think I'm probably the only one that does it, but I measure and then cut them and then install them. And it seems like my dog will shut up.
Yeah, everybody cuts them. Everybody installs them. Then they cut them. Then they mark them, and then they cut them.
Yeah, I to me they're easier to cut when they're not on the machine. So, and it's not that hard to measure. I mean, you just have to stick the motor, hold the motor up there with a coupler on it, and you know that the coupler's that split, so you're supposed to go halfway there, and then just go to the outside edge of that bearing mount, and you're good. It doesn't have to be that
Perfect.
precise.
On the other hand, I do know why people would do that. I mean, I also did it the same way. I cut it after. Reason being, as I didn't want to come up short. You know your machine, so you weren't going to come up short. Let's see here.
I apologize for the disturbance. I see what all the hubbub was about. There is a bunny rabbit trespassing in our yard. And it's
goodness.
driving my puppy dogs crazy.
That's awesome. I didn't hear a thing.
Well, I tried to mute, but they're loud too fast. I'm not that quick.
I'm
Paul Stewart's in the house, Javi.
Hey, Paul, how's it going? Welcome. Let's see. And got a few more here. Yeah, so a note for anyone if they're stripping wires. Strip the edge of the sheathing. Pull out one of the cables. It's very simple to pull out one. Try to pull them all out. It's a pain in the butt. I used to start by stripping the sheathing with these things in 2 or 3 places and then pulling out, but it's a lot faster if you just pull out the one wire. Once you pull out the one wire, you can grab all of them and boom, it's done. It is. And then I basically go and separate the cables. The fun part.
Keith Stanford has joined as well.
Ah, welcome, Keith.
Paul Stewart has a question. Would you like me to read it?
Please.
He says, "Hey, do either of you use a mixer for your sound or just use a straight mic?"
Straight mic.
Straight mic here.
Yeah, well, I guess you. Wait, you might be referring to videos. Um, to
Well, he
video. Hmm?
says, or just use straight mic. So I guess he's talking about audio.
Right. I'm saying he might be referring to our video content as opposed to our live broadcasts.
Okay. I see what you mean.
Yeah. In the video broadcasts, I do tend to um, I I've got a few different mics, and some days I care. Most days I don't. Actually, most days I care about the video content when it's really, really bad. The audio content when it's bad. Uh, and at that point, I will do my best to, for instance, I have a really nice mic in my home office here. I have a very large diaphragm. It's a great mic. Gives me great resonance for say for dubbing, for voiceovers. And every now and then I'll have a video like my old videos for the making room with Javi, make room for Javi. Uh, I would do the voiceovers with the big mic, but when it comes to a section where I'm talking and recording on either one of my other cameras or my iPhone, which is a decent enough mic when you're close, but when you're far away, um, they sound tinny. So what I end up doing is editing, adding bass, and getting rid of the background hiss, the background. So I do those things on iPhone. Um, Short of that, uh, I don't really mess with. And really, if you've seen some of the YouTube videos out there, if you're concerned with YouTube views, some people are OCD about quality, but I'll tell you, there's no argument that quality matters little compared to a bunch of different other factors, most of which are unknown if you want to be successful. Because one thing is time. You got to put time into it. Another thing is luck. You got to be lucky with either the right timing or the right product or the right. Sometimes you'll put something out there that everybody follows you on and everybody shares, and it's a wonderful thing. Other days you have my green and white. Other days you have the worst, or other people have the worst luck. And personality is another one. You got to have a certain amount of personality. Some people are very, respectful sounding, very authoritative. They may not have a they may not be funny, and but they're authoritative. And then others have others are funny. Others, and I won't mention names, are very good teachers and instructional and very long-winded, but they're very um, they are very uh, popular with a specific crowd. And that's what I'm getting at, is that it doesn't matter if you want to be popular on YouTube, if that's the ultimate goal, or I don't know how I got that from your question, but if that's the ultimate goal, I'm just chatting here, then the thing to do is cater to the masses. It's that simple. Everybody that says, "Oh, I'm not going to compromise my what's the word? My values, or my self, or my okay, don't compromise it. But if you want to be a popular YouTube person, you're not gonna be, or rather, if you are, it'll be sheer luck or time or personnel. I mean, you'll be less likely. But if you, let's say, you're one of the millions out there that plays games, and all you do is play games out there because that's what people want to see, and you play the latest games and you play the most popular games, well, you'll probably have thousands more viewers, well, than Dave and than I combined, because people love to see that garbage, or rather, kids love to see that garbage. I can't stand it. But it is what it is. Let's see here. Lost a battery for my weed whip. Then I found a. Oof. You lost a battery for my weed whip? That's like a weed eater kind of thing. How did you lose a battery? Just in the bushes, or you just forgot it someplace and then could never find it, and then now you're out one battery? I'm kind of curious. I mean, I've been there.
Troy said he blames the governor.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I would too if I had one like you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, Dave's got one of those they're good governors that open up the place early.
We ain't scared no cooties.
Yeah. Let's see. There's my spindle. Here's my arm. Oh, laid it on the trailer and took off so it fell down the road. Yeah. Definitely been there. Just want to make sure this is long enough. Just barely, but it's perfect. Yep. I'm not happy with there's pros and cons to a big city. I mention this quite often because I go back and forth between Miami, 2.8 million, and um, Lady Lake, 9,000. And so there's a big disparity with those two. And some of the disadvantages of or some of the main differences. Have a good one, Matt. Have a good night. And yeah, I'm with Big D. What's a KW? Kenworth. Won't eat my Kenworth? What did I miss?
They're
eats
trading
both sides
tabs
for
about
breakfast.
trucks.
Gotcha. But it won't eat your Kenworth. I got it. All right. Yeah. So one of the differences between big city, small city is the availability in times of crisis like this. You've got, I mean, Miami's ridiculous. I mean, it took now stuff we're getting it back and everything, and on any normal um, on any normal day, Miami's got the plus side is Miami's got 10 times more variety, and they still do, than a small city. That stands to reason. Um, there's it's just a lot more traffic, a lot more commercialism, so there's going to be a lot more variety. On the other hand, times like this, certain items, again, the toilet paper, the paper towels, and things like that, scrubbing bubbles, rubbing alcohol, all the stuff that people are just like crazy about lately, or they tend to be they tend to get stocked a lot faster in the small town than in the big one. At least that's been my experience. Miami was out of the toilet paper for I don't know how long, whereas the at Lady Lake never ran out. It ran out, I think, like it ran out by the end of the day, but mostly restocked. And then, but then you got other things like over there. It gets a little annoying because in times of crisis, and maybe this is also because of the situation that I find myself in with a not quite fully completed house, but I still have a PO box. It takes forever for something to get to the small town, to the Lady Lake, whereas in Miami, just about everything's available next day or same day in normal times, you know. So, like right now, for instance, I got back here. I mean, over there, I was shipping stepper motors and such. Granted, COVID-19, it was at the height of it, so there's a big difference there. But I was shipping motors there, and the delays were 3 weeks. Here, I just got some steppers in 3 days, some stepper drivers. So I'm very happy about that. Sweet. Bobby, you got your X and X-axis drives mounted, and now time for the Y. I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to seeing the whole. I'm looking forward to seeing some carvings. You know, and in fact, Dave was mentioning that the other day. He's also looking forward to seeing a few. He's chomping at the bit almost as much as I am to see you guys. Um, put out a video with something created with one of my controllers. And recently, the prices have gone up. For those of you that may have been paying attention to the website, as I promised they would, on the motors, as of yesterday, the motors are a little bit more because I actually started doing all the. I started running the numbers. I had run the numbers before on the cost of the box and everything, so those prices are staying. They're currently $575 for the box, and the motors. I was selling them for 160 more, which is $40 each motor, which is the cost of the motors. So in essence, I was giving away the wire, I was giving away the connectors, and giving away all my time to do the wires and the connectors. And well, let's just say that's no longer the case. So congratulations for all of you that were smart enough to order beforehand. And I'm very sorry to those of you who weren't, or who, for whatever reason, couldn't. But while I'm not in it to make money, I'm not here to lose money either. Yeah, that was a big part of the toilet paper. It's so funny because a similar thing happened with the milk and things like that. In the beginning of this whole debacle, milk was not a scarcity. Not at all. No big deal. You could have as much milk as you want. In fact, farmers were throwing away milk, and it was a damn shame. They were dumping thousands of gallons of milk because all the schools were closed. Schools weren't buying milk anymore. There was an excess of milk in the grocery stores. It's all about logistics and supply chains. I mean, that's one of the big lessons that and I say we, the business people, because I'm part of that, have learned. We got to learn to prepare for a switch in logistics. You can't get complacent. It's like, well, just like the rest of the consumers, just like I was mentioning with the stepper motors and stuff. As an individual, resident at home, with Amazon, even our lives have completely changed. You saw that when Amazon went from spoiling us with 2-day delivery or next day delivery, at least for me, next day, 2-day, at most 3 days, to 1 week, 2 week, a month and a half. All of a sudden the world changed in a very short time. Well, same thing happened to the farmers, and the milk was abundant in the grocery stores in the beginning, and the farmers or rather the dairy farmers were really losing out. Well, what happens? All of a sudden, things change. One begins to catch up, while the other one does not. So now the farmers can now send more milk to the grocery store, but now they can't because the trucking, or rather the shipping companies, are not set up for that, or they're different shipping companies. And so at first there was an abundance of milk because nobody was buying milk. Now there's, or maybe not so much now, but then later there was a lack of milk because the milk that all the kids were getting at school, now they're getting at home. And see, that was a real issue, not one of these fake issues like the toilet paper. And when I say fake, I mean I actually mean man-made. It's I say we, but we as a society did this to ourselves. The idiots who decides to stock up on all this toilet paper ruined it pretty much for the rest of us, because now we all have to stock up on toilet paper for fear of the rest. And guess what happens? Now the next time, and I don't know if there'll be a next time or not, that all depends on the media, because, and I'll get to that in a second. The next time something like this happens, the first thing anybody's going to do is stock up on toilet paper because people learn. In fact, I have no doubt that there's going to be a lot of people stocking up extra. It's the same thing with here in the hurricanes. Here with the hurricanes, people don't stock up on generators. 10 years go by, no hurricanes, and all of a sudden a big one hits. Everybody's scrambling for generators. There's not a generator to be seen, and Home Depot has diverted all their resources to sending generators down to South Florida. And they're coming in by the truckload, and they're going out faster. And you can't return them, so people are keeping their generators. But then pretty soon it gets to the point where everybody's got an excess generator now. The next time around, I see a hurricane season. I see maybe 1 or 2 of the following years, everybody's piling on generators. I mean, everybody's buying generators anytime there's a hurricane season, a warning. But then like Rural King, Tractor Supply, Harbor Freight, Ace, I've noticed when a disaster strikes since then, 5 or 6 years later, they've got an overstock of generators that they're keeping, that unfortunately they're keeping an inventory for the entire year that they can't get rid of. Why? Because they figure, oh, they're going to buy generators because it's a hurricane warning. But either they have them all or people have forgotten because they got short memories. Wait. Okay, so you didn't order the dual? No, yeah, there, Bob. It's there were no dual shaft motors available. I'd have to special order them, and they'd be, a bit more money, and they'd take forever to get here. So I basically, that was something that I was hoping to get at the very, very beginning, but ever since I found out in late February that they wouldn't be available, I just basically told everyone I don't have any way of getting dual shaft motors. I have a way of getting them, but they take a long time and they cost a lot more money, and it's really not worth it. Because anybody that's, you can ask Dave when he gets back, anybody that's got one of these CNCs, I've got a shaft on the top of my CNC. There's a drag chain that goes over it. I don't use it for anything. I don't have a knob on it. I don't want to have a knob on it because that'll throw it. I mean, well, it won't throw it off that much, but if it's a well-balanced knob, but I'm not going to be lifting it or lowering it. And if I do, that's why I use the controls. That way it won't move from the Z. And then when I use the control, I set it to incremental moves, to 0.1 or whatever, and then click, 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 do it that way. But is it convenient for the Z? I don't know. I've never needed it on any of my machines, so I can't speak to its convenience or not. But yeah, if you put the shaft all the way to the bottom, longer, or like on these, you can on the I'm pointing here to I'm sitting in front of um my Y motor, and on the end over here, it sticks out 3/4 of an inch, like you. So I could just actually put a little knob on here, but frankly, I could turn this with my hands, so I don't really need a knob, as it were. Let's see, with the states opening up, they're finding that now that the supply chain is not there. Yeah, it's going to be a slow start. It is definitely going to be a slow start. And like everything else, I mean, everything's a slow start, but it's a fast finish. I mean, when you like perfect example is gas stations. Gas stations take their time to lower prices, but I guarantee you, when it comes time to raise them, they'll go up fast. Always been the case. Troy says, "Welcome back, Dave."
Yeah, I've been sitting here the whole time, but I didn't want people to watch me stuff my face. I was hungry, so I had to. I just realized I hadn't had supper yet. So.
Okay, how do I calibrate the Mach 3 for distance traveled, Paul? All right. Well, I'll tell you, Paul. Well, let me see here.
I can screen share and show him.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave will show you right now. On personally, what I do is I calibrate one, which Dave will show you how to do now, and everybody that has a hobby box just downloads my profile, and you're done, because it's got all the settings in it. But it's all in the motor settings. Where's the? Oh, hang on a second. I got to get to the screen share. I'm sorry about that.
Well, I was getting it set up. I hadn't.
All right. What is it with this? Okay.
In fact, let me see if I can get this thing to go big screen. I couldn't get it the other night, but.
All right.
Let me see if I can.
In the meantime, let me put you up there, and I'll be back in a second. Gotta go. Get something from the house.
And it still doesn't do it. Okay. Well, anyway. What you do is you come over to this settings page, which is Alt-6. And right down here where it says Axis Calibration, it says set steps per unit. And let's say we're going to set up our X. You just click on that, and it says, how far would you like it to move the X-axis? So if you want it to move 10 inches, you put 10 inches. And then if it doesn't move 10 inches, let's say you said it only goes 4. So let's see, did it? I'm not here at a machine. Work or not. Okay, yeah, here it popped up. how far did the x-axis move? So you basically just say, okay, the first box you say, I want it to move 10 inches, and then you measure what it actually moved, and you put that in there, and it automatically adjusts that steps per unit number to calibrate that axis. And then you can check it again. Personally, I don't use, like a tape measure and stuff like that to measure a distance. What I do is I cut a part. I usually cut like a 4x4 or 5x5 or 6x6, depending on what kind of calipers you have. If you've got a set of 12-inch calipers, then you could cut something, 12x12 basically. But if you've only got a set of 6-inch calipers, you can cut something at least 5 or 6 inches square. And when you cut the test part, if you mark which way is the X before you take it out, because once you take it out and set it down, you'll forget which way is which. But mark which way is the X and which way is the Y. And then because your program is programmed to say cut a 6-inch square, then you would go to this axis calibration. And when you click and say, how far do you want it to go? You say 6 inches. And then you measure that with calipers. And when it says how far did it go, let's say it was 30 thousandths short. Let's just say that it measured 5.97 instead of 6 inches. So you would put that in there and then hit OK. And like I said, it automatically adjusts the numbers. It's real easy to do. Okay, let me read here. He says, Dave, I've tried that, but I'm not having much luck with it. It seems to go about half the Okay, well then your steps, if it's going exactly half, your steps per unit is not correct.
Yep.
Your base number. If you put 3,200 in there, and it's only going half as far as it needs to, then that number needs to be 64. If you got 64 and it's only going half as far, then it needs to be
64 or the other way around, or 1,600.
No, it's got.
Oh no, yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, 64. It's got to go more. Yeah,
to go.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, if it's going exactly half, then that means your base number's not set up anywhere close. So hopefully that helped. Oh, let me. Javi, I'm sorry. I got out.
No. Yeah. Let me. Here you go.
I left it on thinking I could do it myself. I keep forgetting it's your stream, not mine. So, okay. So, the number I'm talking about, Paul, is if you come to config and motor tuning, it's this number right here where it says steps per. So depending on how you have everything set up, like I said, if you've got 6,400 there and you tell it to move 10 inches and it moves 5, exactly half as much, then that number right there in that lower left-hand corner needs to be doubled.
He's asking if the plus or the minus makes a difference. Direction? No. If he's
as far as moving it to, it won't make any difference whether you're moving it in the negative direction or the positive. It's still got to move.
Okay.
Remember a Saturday show when you went through all the setup from wiring to programming. Yeah, sounds like I might need to do a refresh.
Yeah.
Show.
Yeah, I mean, you've got it on your, and Mark has it on his on your channel, but you might as well do a live show and then
Yeah.
yeah, it's a topic.
I know sometimes it's a little frustrating, but trust me, it's well worth it when you get it all figured out. And it's not rocket science. I've said that all since day one.
Yep. Yep.
If you're more like me, you can figure this stuff out. Anybody can. Paul says, thanks. I'll go back over all those numbers again to verify that I have things correct or not. Yeah. Yeah. One of the keys, Paul, is, before you even run that calibration over here that I was showing you, I wouldn't even bother running that until you get it in the ballpark. The number that, the setup numbers that I give or Javi gives or whatever, that's really to get you in the ballpark.
Yeah.
You should be within a few thou, at least within 30 thou, probably a lot closer than that.
Yeah.
When you do it. But the thing to look for is on those numbers on that configuration stuff. The motor tuning right here where I was talking about earlier. If it moves and it only goes exactly half as much as what you want, or it goes exactly twice as much as what you want, that's what the problem is.
Yep.
The steps is wrong. It's either if it's only going half as much, you need to double that number. If it's going twice as far as what you want it to, you need to take half that number.
And one other recommendation I have is make sure if you do it, let's say you do it with some sort of fixed yardstick over a long distance or something. When you check the calibration, go from 0. Let's say you have a yardstick that's metal and it's exactly 3 feet or whatever. Obviously, it's a yard. And you check from 0 to 36. Make sure your program runs from 0 to 36 and then from 36 to 0, because there's the possibility that your couplers may be slipping, that your drive may be losing steps. So if you go up and then you come back and you come up short, then there's a possibility that that'll show that, and obviously it's not going to lose half the steps. That's a programming issue. But if you say in 36 inches lose half an inch, and then all of a sudden you send it back to 0 and it goes past 0, that you've lost a step on the first move. Or vice versa, if you send it and it goes exactly to 36 and then you come back and you're only at half inch, that you lost a half inch on the way back. So that's just different ways to check the calibration. There's also the possibility that you'll go all the way up 35 and a half inches and then all the way back 35 and a half inches. And because from dropping the same exact number of steps, but well, that's a very rare possibility. Odds are it's not calibrated at that point. Yeah, Troy says you definitely, with all the new members you're getting, it's a good idea to. And that's what we do. All of us in the content field. If I had more time, I would start up again those Learn CNCs with Javi that I have on my channel that are 2 years old, but they're still relevant. But really, when you think about it, if it's not immediate, people forget it. And that's exactly what happens with Mark's old videos, with Dave's old videos, with my old videos. There's too much content on there to be sifting through all that stuff to try to find, the right thing you're looking for. And I understand, because
Yeah,
I've been
even
on the I've been on the other side, and I go, you know what? He probably taught it, but I'm not going to go looking through that.
yeah, people will go look, but they're always looking fairly recent. Because I can guarantee you, there's probably not any topic about CNC that I haven't covered at some point.
Yeah.
But with all those videos and live streams and all that, and I can't even, if somebody asks me, have you done a video on that? I can usually remember if I've covered
Yeah.
the topic, but I can't remember how long ago it was, or
Right.
unless it was just last week or something. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I have to go hunt for it myself. Yeah, we'll do another
Yeah.
another show on that. See,
Sounds like fun.
Troy just reminded me. I think there's a bunch of new people wanting to get approved. I think there was like 9 of them in the thing. I hadn't
Now
checked.
comes the fun part for me. I turned on the solder pot, so now I'm going to do the solder dipping. And that's not a problem, except this room is going to get very smoky very quickly. Let me see if I can do a whole bunch of them at the same time. I always like doing that. And there's the smoke. Okay, I'm going to try to do all of them at the same time. Yeah, I definitely got to get some kind of ventilation in this place. Where's my mask? Good question.
Robert Sams had a question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, first let me get to the missed one by Samurai. He says, "Stupid
Yep.
question," and there is no stupid question. What's the difference between a lead screw and a ball screw? A ball screw the nut has little balls in it, and they ride on grooves that are on the screw shape of the thing. Whereas a lead screw's more like, I mean, it's not like a threaded rod, but it's closer to that than a ball screw is. The ball screw is just like what it sounds. It's a screw but the nut has little tiny ball bearings in it that ride in the groove. I hope that answered your question. And then Robert Sam says, Dave, where do I find the info on mounting the Y-axis motor bearing mount?
Y-axis motor bearing mount. Oh, okay. Well, I can help you with that. Well, Dave can help you with that. But
if you're talking about the video, it's, if you watch the build videos, there's one where I show you how to. You don't want to just throw it up there and screw it in. You want to clamp it and make sure you've got your motor, the other end with your motor mount and the bearing mount, and then the your lead screw running through the Acme nut that's on the upright, and you want to make sure you get all those lined. That's why in my video I always tell folks, don't just throw it up there and put a screw in it. Use some clamps and just clamp it in place. And I show how you measure it. Of course, a lot of folks use the alignment jigs and stuff, but you really don't need all that, because it doesn't have to be that precise. It's the rails that makes the thing precise, not the lead screw.
What I like to do is here's the one with the bearing on it. All right, this is the front one with the Y bearing on it. What I did first was take, again, a clamp and clamp it where the top of this rail was even with the bottom of the plywood of your table. I'm not talking about the spoil board. I'm talking about the plywood, on the rail. In other words, you'll see there are two from the side. You'll see the plywood, and you'll see that 1.5-inch spacer plywood on the side. The top of this goes right in between the two. Okay, that's where you start. The back motor, same place. Then the most important part is your upright. Mount, it's you glued in the backlash nut in your upright. Thread the screw through. Then what I did, which is what's in the video, is you move it to one side. You move the gantry to one side, and now the gantry is, we're talking inches, an inch or two away from the upright. At that point, I loosen it, and obviously the other side is it might be a little bit off, but we'll get to that in a second. I loosen this and make it even with that, and it's very easy to make even, because if it's being held on one side by the motor mount, and it's being held on this side by the backlash nut, this little edge, if it's off by a millimeter. So you can mount that one. And then you move the gantry all the way to the back. Now this one's fixed. It's mounted. You put it all the way to the back, and make sure your motor mount, which again was clamped also the same way. Now you fix that one. Or you could do it in reverse order. It makes little difference. But that's how I did mine. So mine is the bearing and the coupler, the lead screw, is all completely in line with that backlash nut. And like Dave said, it's not rocket science. It doesn't have to be, to a 10,000th of an inch. This thing whips more than half an inch. So it's not like it's lateral forces is what it's pushing. So Don't worry about being off a little bit, That's my 2 cents. But there's the man right there that oh, Dave, you're muted. But there's the man right there that could tell you the skinny.
Yeah, well, what I said when I was muted, I didn't realize I muted myself. The most important thing is that when you move it back and forth, that it doesn't bind the motors. That's all that matters.
That's it.
It doesn't do a thing at no matter how perfect you think you've got them lined up. That doesn't have a thing to do with the accuracy of the machine. The rails is what the thing rides on. That's what's makes the machine accurate. The lead screws basically just push and pull it back and forth.
Exactly. If these are messed up, if these rails are messed up, then forget it. Your machine is off. If they're all wanky and wonky and curved, well, then buy yourself some new rails or learn how to cut wood straight.
Yeah. When you watch the videos, I try to make it where, and when I say videos, I'm talking about my build videos.
Yeah.
I try to make it where you don't have to have a lot of fancy things. This is supposed to be a simple DIY build that anybody can do. And it's done that way for a reason. You just use common sense and ways to line things up. Like I use that spacer, like you put one angle on and you put it on an edge that's the factory edge of the plywood. So it's going to be nice and straight. And then when you cut the other side, if you're using a circular saw and you don't even have a guide, it doesn't matter because you're going to line the other one up by taking a board. I used a piece of plywood, I think, in the video. And you put it against one side and then butt the other end of the angle. And, you just work it all the way down. And that way you've got spacers to keep the two angles parallel. That's
right.
That's what matters. Not, a lot of folks. And again,
the way I did it is, look,
a lot of folks make it way harder than it needs to be.
And you got a lead screw. Okay. What's the shortest distance between 2 points? A line. So if I make my 2 points the gantry bracket, it's riding along. I push it to one side. There's 1 point. So this is pretty darn close. If unless you've completely dropped if that's within 1 to 2 inches, then this is going to move. Let's see, what's the ratio? Obviously it's a bigger machine, but I got 6 feet here. So the ratio is, I got 2 inches here and I've got 70 inches here. So the ratio is 1 to 35. So for every inch I move, it'll be a 35th of an inch here. I'm just saying, if I move my bracket to here, I got 1 point. Move it to the back, I got the other point. And if you want to be double check, well, then move it back. Now you're really precise. And you don't need to be.
Yeah.
And think about it. If I have moved my gantry, that hole, that bearing, which is a certain height always from this rail and a certain width, a certain distance always from this rail, supposedly. If I move it to this side and lock that in, and I move it to that side and lock that in, along the way in the middle, unless your lead screw is all bowed and wavy, and then that's a whole other issue, it's completely straight. It's not like you got to check every inch, and it's the two ends. It's a straight line. Call me crazy, but there's a reason I studied geometry in school. I haven't figured out quite what that reason is yet, but I'm hoping it was to build a gap.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah, it had to be. It had to be.
Yeah, I just wish more people would chill out a little bit and enjoy the build. It's supposed to be fun, and I just see so many folks on the Facebook group just
It is. It is fun. I mean, like,
finding problems that aren't really problems.
see, I mean, it's the same thing with the electronics. For me, this is a blast. I mean, well, you've said it a number of times when we've been on a chat. I can't believe you're still doing this. I can't believe you're still doing this. I can't believe, because for you and for many others, soldering is not fun. Putting wires together is not fun. Mowing the yard, painting for some people is not fun. Guess what? It is for me. So I'll do it as long as I am able to. And and
And we're glad that it's fun for you.
yeah, yeah, I would imagine so. But so I'm happy to help. I'm happy to give my time to 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 accelerate somebody else's time, because I'm sure, and that's the other thing. That's what I was getting at. I'm sure. I mean, you say, I'll play devil's advocate here. You say the build should be fun, and I'll be honest with you, Dave. The build was fun for me, but not like fun like I got a project that I'm interested in, like the arcade machine I'm building soon. That Not that kind of fun. It was a little bit fun and a little bit of a chore. And for some people, the last thing that they want to do is build a CNC. They're doing it because they're saving a ton of money, not because they want to. And and it's not going to be fun for them, but it will be fun after they finish. That feeling of satisfaction that you get when number one, when you're done, but secondly, when you start to carve stuff on there, and oh, you guys, it's well worth it. Well worth it. Just saying.
I think I got a puppy that wants to go out, so
Well, by all means, let them out. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Dennis, we're definitely yeah, not a problem. I don't even I thought you were already paid up. I'll double check everything here. But yeah, that's I've got everything for you, Dennis, and I'm putting it all together this week. So by Monday at the latest, hopefully a lot sooner than that, I'm going to be sending all your stuff out. Look at that! Look at that smoke! Look at that beautiful. Thank God the AC is turned off, so now the smoke's going straight up. When the AC is opposite this thing, so it blows all the smoke in my face. Nothing like solder flux in your face to make one feel like they have a coronavirus or something. All right. I guess about the only time this isn't fun, I would have to say, is when the flux splatters and just one of it flies onto my leg if I'm wearing shorts, or my arm. It doesn't do any permanent damage because it's one of those. It's so small that it won't leave a mark or a blister or anything. But man, it stings like like the Dickens. Okay, let's do the red. So the other day, how many of you guys out there used to watch a show? It was only on for 2 seasons, and it was the 1970s. We're talking, but how many of you used to watch sci-fi 19 Space 1999 with Barbara Bain and Martin Landau? I started watching that again. You know, that's the beautiful thing about losing your memory or about getting older or about time in general. See, I remember I used to love that show. It was just an interesting show for me. Um, but we're talking, I don't know when it was on. It was in the 80s. So I must have been in my early 20s or whatever, teenage years, maybe even. And yeah, early 80s, it was my teenage years. So I started watching it again. I'm having a blast. Just the old cheesy effects and the it's just everything in general. The references to, and it's so funny because Dave, I'll tell you about some of these shows. I didn't realize how political they were. You know, that one in general, you could tell it was created by Democrats because it is so filled with anti-nuclear this and anti-nuclear that, and then, well, it might not be Democrats, it might just be whatever anti-nuke people, but still, whatever. Usually, ooh, look at this smoke. Usually, the Republican side of the coin wasn't too anti-nuclear. Anti-Russian, yeah. Anti-nuclear, not so much. But anyway, I really enjoyed the show. Saw a couple episodes, and there was only 2 seasons. The entire show lasted only 2 seasons. But Dennis Mills is enjoying the build, learning as he goes. It's therapy. He works in FedEx Express as a delivery courier. When I can get out there and work on my Gatton, I'm in a happy place. I hear you. I hear you. That's a beautiful thing. Big D says, awesome. I'm in between my honeydew list and staining my part. Yeah, that's where I'm at now. I'm making. I was telling Dave I was a little stressed out. I don't mind to tell you today because I I got back from a 5 weeks away, and I've never been gone that long. And I was 5 weeks up there uh, at the property. The beautiful thing is, I caught up on all my hobby boxes, and I got some work done up there. But the bad thing is, when I got back, well, my wife did most of the honeydew list with the girls, but there's a lot of stuff she can't do. She can't retile a kitchen. She can't do this. She can't do that. So now I've got some tasks ahead of me, and I've still got boxes to make. I still got my businesses to run, and although they practically run themselves, but still, it's just it was a little stressful today because you know I don't know about you guys, but when I like to take on a lot of things but I try to schedule them, you know, in a. I try to schedule them all. I have a few irons in the fire, but I usually have a schedule for each iron. Every now and then, somebody throws a wrench in the works, and just one more thing. I was telling Dave, I'm like a computer in the sense that when I run one too many programs, I lock up and I crash completely. So I basically was. I wasn't locked up for the day. I was locked up for a couple hours. Crashed. My brain went into not panic mode, but overwhelming mode where I can't do anything at that point. Familiar with anyone? Anxiety, that kind of thing. Well, not full blown panic attack, but the verge of it. That kind of stuff. So, luckily, there's always friends around to lend an ear and walk you off the ledge. Not that there is a ledge, but. And there was always Amazon where you could buy stuff. Hey, Michael, how's it going? Oh, Dennis, you can't remember that one? Yeah, it was really cool because it was Martin Landau and Barbara Bain, who, if anyone's obviously most of you, I would imagine, remember Mission Impossible with Martin Landau and Barbara Bain. Barbara Bain was the blonde on Mission Impossible. Well, she wasn't always blonde, but I mean, she's blonde in real life, but in Mission Impossible, she could be any color hair. And then, so that was that show. It was the premise of it was there was an explosion. Apparently, Moonbase Alpha, which is remember we're talking. This is like made. I think it was made. No, I'm sorry. Forgive me. It was made. It was definitely my early teenage years because it was made in the late 70s. It had to be because of the clothes. It was the moon had exploded, or part of the moon. There was a Moonbase Alpha, and Moonbase Alpha was it was a storage facility where they used to dump all all of Earth's nuclear waste would go there. Now, I love the inconsistencies because nuclear waste does not blow up. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. It's a lot of radiation and stuff like that, but yeah, no, sorry. It's spent. Well, it's heavy. It's not heavy. It's radiated water. It's fuel rods. It's et cetera, but it's not at all in any way, shape, or form explosive. Radioactive? Oh yeah. So apparently they had this big thing where there was a bunch of there were some people going crazy. This is the first episode. Some people going crazy, and their eyes would turn gray. So I guess apparently in the 70s it was the beginning of gray contact lenses. So they were using them a lot, and so these people were all. Oh, it's already 9:40. I'm gonna start to wrap it up soon. They were every now and then they were starting to go crazy. They didn't know what it was. It turns out it was they were flying over they were already loading stuff from dump station 2, but dump station 1 apparently none of these had radiation. It was all clear, it was all sealed, but apparently dump station 1 had this excessive magnetic uh, disturbance, EM field. I love the fact that an EM field makes a person's brain go crazy. Well, I suppose if you turn it up and target it just right from an MRI, it might. But no, I love the so you got to laugh at the premise, but it is pure fiction, but it's a great show to watch. Um, yeah, cheesy but fun. It's like there was another one I used to watch. It's called Arc or Arc. What was it? Arc. I think it was just called Arc. It was about a. It was a dystopian future, and there was a big, huge thing in the Arc 7, Arc 2, Arc something, and it was one of the Croft Super Show uh, shows. Not too many episodes. It was one like Electra Woman and Dinah Girl, or The Lost Saucer, or HR Puff and stuff. All those type of shows and stuff. Land of the Lost. But anyway, I more than digress. So, folks, I see Troy's getting out of there, and Michael, I'm sorry you're late to the party, but I'm gonna go ahead and start shutting her down here. So you guys have a wonderful evening, and I may or may not see you on Friday night, depending on how and when how late I am tiling my kitchen floor. But if not, well, there's always Monday. So have a wonderful day. The '70s show again. It's Space colon 1999, and they're wearing their Martin Landau, Barbara Bain. You could tell it's '70s because they're wearing the same type of clothes like on the first Star Trek the movie, the motion picture rather. It's all one piece, gray and white and spandex, that kind of stuff. The spandex days. Anyways, very, very cheesy. Have a good evening, everyone, and we'll see you soon.